recorded? No.
Well, we're live. Maybe we're not recorded. Remember those? Hello, everyone. This is BetaCodex Live. I'm Ryan Erickson. That's Niels Pflaeging on the other side of your screen. If you're watching this, you know who we are, likely. If you don't, read the bottom of the description, whatever the hell. I don't know. So as we are entering here, I'm looking. So normally this gets recorded. We get to process it, and I get to do all sorts of nefarious things with it, and in the
But I think
machine
it's
overload verse.
Yeah.
It is okay. So very good. Okay, all right. It still says you have low disk space for some reason, but either way, who cares? So what I do care about and what you care about is bringing the beauty of beta to the world. And in order to do that, folks need to buy beta. Well, they don't need to. They could do the research themselves and kind of go through and ask. But on occasion, folks seek the advisory capacity of either you or myself or another beta consultant out there, and ask for a proposal. Kind of, what are you going to do? Why are you going to do it? That's the coin of the alpha world, right? Propose, and then we're going to exchange, and I'll do that kind of shit. So, and the topic of today, I'm thinking we talked about selling, a couple whiles, 2 episodes ago, and that selling is an illusion. Only buying exists. Well, what are the economic buyers out there? What are they going to buy? And so I thought, well, many of them will want a proposal. And in terms of what we're offering, in terms of beta transformation, what would be an alluring and distinctive kind of proposal that would possibly light some fires, that would say, oh, I want that. I believe that you're saying this thing that's really fantastic. And so my desire to explore that with you is that, well, what does that look like? What has that looked like for you? I'll tell you what I've been struggling with it.
Okay, please do so.
And yeah, so anything you want to say about before I go and share my pain with the world?
First, I'm happy that you suggested this topic, Ryan, because I think it's essential. Of course, we will not be talking exclusively about proposal writing, but also about, how do we need to position ourselves to be able to write a proposal? What comes before writing the proposal, and what is the necessary context for writing a proposal for beta consulting as well, right? And I think some people might be attending, so I think you will also show comments. If comments arise, Ryan will. This is nice. Thank you, Astrid.
Yes, Astrid.
And Sabina. So if you listening, watching, want to interfere, please comment so that we can play with that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Do an intervention. We'll see if the comments show up. We'll see them if they show up. So who knows? As long as to be prepared to be surprised, someone may say something completely inappropriate, and then we'll just
then Ryan will choose to ignore it, and
or we will engage. So yeah, so definitely the whole life cycle of getting from inspiration to conversation to transformation.
Yeah.
As I let my cat out of the room here.
Do you have to chase it?
No, she's gonna want to come out. So
okay. Interesting. So I continue the conversation all by myself.
No, you won't. I'm right here. It only takes me 5 seconds to close the goddamn door.
So how do we want to start this, Ryan? Apart from the thing.
Let me start. I would like to start with my struggle. Names be changed to protect the innocent. And we talked about this one. Is that there's this a natural resource governance issue. That's there's some laws changing in an area, and the folks in that area, some who happen to know me and say, "Hey, what's this BetaCodex stuff?" And we think, based on what we've read, we think this might be applicable to our environment. Is that because we really want to have this citizen-based governance and all the kind of transparency and flow. And so I'm thinking, oh, how can we apply the BetaCodex principles to this larger system transformation? And so I trying to go through that process again. You and I talked about it and drew some boundaries around. Well, when we talk about the BetaCodex and open space beta and cell structure design and relative targets, we're really talking about the organizational container, right? A single organization.
Yes.
And so that kind of that disappointed me because like, oh, I want to do that, but there's still. So we'll take the patterns there, but the challenge that I had in that context was that okay, there's not someone asking for beta in that environment. No one's asking for it. So we're going through how do we write a proposal that like a statement of this, what we've observed from the outside, and to and guess inspire these folks to, I hate to say it, I was going to say buy in like alpha language, but to have some insight about what we offer, right? So that's kind of the proposal without a buyer. I think that's the problem.
Yes.
You
cannot pitch yourself to beta, and I think you cannot propose yourself to beta.
You cannot pitch yourself. Is that what you said?
You cannot get a client for beta transformation through a pitch or through a proposal. I think that's very important in the context of our conversation today. And we may disagree, of course, and you might prove me wrong, or somebody might prove me wrong at a certain point. But as I understand beta transformation, it is with an organization. So we as consultants work with an organization, a client, which might be a company or a not-for-profit or a public institution. And I think it's very important to understand that before you write the proposal for the transformation, you need to have the client relationship. So you need the sponsor. You need to be in touch with that person. You need to have clarification with that person. Proposal writing, I think, is the last point. And I think the kind of business that you were doing at the point that you just spoke about, it's a little different, right? It's the kind of process that you start with a proposal, the concept, and then you discuss it and you see where it goes, or you pitch against, or you propose against in a selection process, let's say. Yes.
Yeah.
So you'd never get that close to the client, to the economic buyer, as we sometimes call the client, or the sponsor for beta transformation. And I think it's unlikely for us to succeed in getting to beta transformation that way. I'm waiting to be proven wrong, of course, but I think it requires, as I think Silke would agree with me, and arguably we have the most experience in this thing. The main role of us as consultants is to give the client, the sponsor, safety, so to speak. Yeah, so that the sponsor knows I can do this. With this consultant, with this advisor at my side, I can do this. I can pull this through. They know the method. They have the expertise, and I can trust them, and can pull this through.
Yeah. You're mentioning trust and safety, right? That also implies a sense of certainty, which is not. It implies that. So I'm trusting. I'm trusting in your guidance. I'm trusting the process, and
which I never say. This old adage, trust the process. I do not use it, and I despise it personally. This is a very personal thing. I think.
How dare you have an opinion?
Our clients shouldn't trust us. They should trust me. The process, open space beta, that's the process. That's not something to be trusted. It's the logic of how it will work. But ultimately, they have to trust in us as consultants that we together can pull it through.
Yeah,
see it through. I think that's the best.
See it through. Well, you're talking about the relationship building, right?
Yes, exactly. And that comes before the proposal. That's why I'm mentioning it. And it's a different thing in the kind of business that you just mentioned, where you as a consultant are kept at an arm's length before you get the contract. It's in principle, it's impossible to build that kind of relationship with a sponsor. Yeah, which is why in our work, as the way we do it, let's put it like that. I'm not trying to convey the ultimate truth, even though I think I have it. But there may be many ways, and prove me wrong, right?
Yeah.
This is the invitation to everyone. Prove me wrong. Yeah. But I think beta transformation is very much relying on advisory. And advisory is a personal thing. It's a relationship thing. So in order to see this through with a client, a beta transformation that deserves the name to see it through, you must have a personal relationship with the sponsor, right? And that takes a little bit of time to build. It takes a workshop and so on. So I believe it's a beta transformation doesn't fall from the sky, and I think it's unlikely that people would invite even me. I'm as an expert, with books published on the matter. Nobody would call me and say, "It's tomorrow we start the transformation."
You're hired.
They would say they would probably say, let's first have a session and talk about it, right? And we want to know you, get to know you, and see if you are competent, and see if you are fun to work with, and all this. And that. So the proposal we are talking about is always the second proposal. The first would be a work session, a workshop, that kind of stuff. And this relates to my first piece of advice. If you want to write that kind of proposal, don't be a trainer.
Oh, this also comes down to the being on equal footing.
Exactly.
With the client.
And to what's your role in a transformation? What will it be? It's not to train them. It's not to qualify them. By the way, I think this is one of the things we recently talked about, Daniel Mesick and Open Space Agility, the two of us, among us, very recently. and I think one thing that he always did was to present himself as a trainer in a way. Right? In Open Space Agility, the so-called coaches are trainers, qualifying the client during the transformation. We don't do that.
It's been both. It's been both, but
but it cannot work. It cannot work because the mind of the master.
You cannot be both trainer and consultant.
The master of ceremony in a beta transformation in Open Space Beta cannot sell him or herself as a trainer, position him or herself as a trainer. Be an advisor, true advisor. There are great books about that by David Maister, True Advisory or Professional.
The Trusted Advisor.
The Trusted Advisor, that's the book.
Reading that this morning.
Yes. Wonderful book. Yeah. So that kind of posture, that kind of positioning is necessary. Otherwise, you cannot see the thing through with a sponsor. You must have this kind of relationship. That's very serious.
Yeah. Peer-to-peer relationships. Like, are we in this together? I'm in this, and
we're in this love together. We got the kind that lasts forever.
So
and
you know that,
of course.
I have tried to I've tried to go into that with the spirit. I've sang that song in so many meetings, and nobody gets it. They don't get it. No, so very few, maybe one or two have gotten it, but I'm going to keep singing it. I don't care. You sang it beautifully, so I love it. But yeah, we're in this together. And we're in this relationship. And one of the things that Peter Block said in Flawless Consulting that stuck with me is about having, as a consultant, you have your own needs. And you need to be able to speak for what I want to have happen as a consultant, what is valuable for me, for us to be in this partnership. Because if it's not that equal partnership, then I'm just a pair of hands. Send me to do this.
Yes.
No. We're pardon, like what?
Like a puppeteer or the puppet.
Well, but then know what you're getting into, right? And that's that contracting conversation, and how do we come to an agreement about what do you want to have happen here as the economic buyer, as the sponsor of this organizational entity, and what do I want to have happen as a trusted advisor, consultant, co-creator, whatever you want to call it. There's some issue, not an issue, but there's a distinction about advice. That the kind of advice that's valuable, which is the kind that you're seeking, and then there's a kind of unsolicited advice, which is an imposition and ridiculousness. So.
And the same, in a way, we're talking about proposal writing today. I think the same is true to proposal writing. Sending a proposal to a client or potential client is an insult in itself is if you haven't clarified the thing you want to do, if you haven't properly clarified what this is going to be about. I always struggle with myself, right? Of not writing. Is it the time? I sometimes ask Silke, is it time now to send the proposal? And she says, no, you should have another conversation about this and that.
Because this was one of the things we were struggling with in this proto engagement, right? Was there is already a plan, a governance plan in place for these people that if we were from the outside saying this plan is shit, it is not going to get you what you want, then immediately you come in with this pose that you're wrong, you're fucked, so but if you want to be saved, we can save you. And that's like, no, we're not the savior. And this also comes down to one of that being in this consulting world of being a distinction of a beta consultant or an alpha consultant, is that what, at least what I would want to have happen is independence and not a dependency. You don't want to create this dependency relationship. You want to have a relationship. And it's like if you're always this is beautiful about when you talk to folks, it's they're asking you for advice, and oftentimes you'll say, you think about it. That's I'm not going to tell you the answer, that or they will ask you for something and you'll say no. And that's like, well,
or I say, I cannot give you the answer, otherwise this would be bad for our relationship. You don't want me to give you the answer. You want to think for yourself, and then
that's you're unlearning dependency. You're unlearning that helplessness. You're unlearning that, or you're
and as we're talking about how to make it easy to buy beta, I think it's essential that beta can only be bought, or beta assistance with transformation can only be bought from a proper consultant and from someone who doesn't give you the solutions. That reminds me of a Susan Vega song that has the line, "Don't give away the goods too soon," is what she might have told me, my mother. So don't give away the goods too soon in beta advisory either.
There's a part of that too.
This is just to clarify it, because I might come over as an asshole saying, don't give answers. That may sound like secrecy or sales tactics. It's not. Of course, the idea of a beta transformation is that the client needs to figure out things for themselves anyway, right?
That's the capability you want to have grown in that organization.
So
that's the point.
You as a consultant cannot give all the answers. A trainer would give all the answers. That's why I say you have to develop the posture of a consultant or a trainer, giving trainings or seminars, running seminars. Or we have a couple of colleagues here in Germany. I think they still think that beta transformation can be done by having inspiring talks about BetaCodex principles and so on. But that's not it. That might be part of, getting to know each other and so on, the quest for figuring out the BetaCodex and beta organization, decentralization, and how it works and so on. But you do not get to a transformation like that. You can have an interesting seminar or workshop, but in order to get to transformation, you must help the client, to deconfigure their own
There's the belief system paradigm, however you want to say it.
Exactly. And for that, we cannot be teaching too much. We cannot be giving too many answers. We have to, we cannot use case examples. We discussed this as well. Why cases do not work, because they kind of erode this relationship on equal footing. We need to do proper advisory, proper beta consulting, which is what we're discussing in this session, right? Questions from the viewers? That's odd. Are there no comments or questions from the viewers?
Oh, nothing yet.
They're not being interesting enough. We have to take it up a notch.
We need. I'm not gonna. I was gonna say something lewd, but I don't want to say anything more. That's lewd. We have a few folks watching, and we'll go there. The thing we talk about the idea of the case study, and that I was in a course this weekend, we weren't talking about beta, but we were talking about a chosen agency, right? So that transformation from alpha to beta in other structures, right? Let's say in a social structure, and there's this it's like, can we have, this even happened in the proposal. Can we have a story? We can bring in the proposal a place where this has worked before, right?
Yes.
We can have a case study in the proposal. And I heard something recently was that, the story you tell, it's interesting the first time. It's interesting the first time, but it's every time the story is told, it becomes less and less interesting because you've heard the story before, right? I mean, so you hear whatever we hear. I mean, yeah, I tell the Atlanta 96 story about open space technology. I tell time and time again. I make sure that I'm telling it for the first time. So that's the time it's interesting. But like oh gosh, I'm trying to think which transformation.
Well, I can give you an example. Today I saw an email. There's a group of people who talk about self-management. They're called corporate. Yes. And they send out these email newsletters about case studies all the time. In today's newsletter, they even kind of sold a transformation case. That's mine. I did it with a company, but they never indicate any sources, nor they put a story there with the company's name, make it interesting, but they never refer to who did it, of course, because that would be me. It doesn't matter, but these sources, on the other side, you just put it correctly. These stories are boring. They don't explain anything. There's and I always wonder who gets inspired to do their own beta transformation, through nobody, I think. Oh, thank you, Astrid. That's very nice. Very kind of you. So I think, again, case studies in a way are useful to prove that it is possible, but never to convince anybody that it is needed. And that can, to develop this conviction, we really need to get away from alpha. We really need to free ourselves from command and control. You cannot inspire that by cases. Never. It's the exact opposite. I think cases are extremely boring in that sense. They never inspire a sense of urgency. So they are not the solution to the consulting or consultation or advisory problem, the transformation problem.
Well, I think it's also a pathway to dependency. Exactly. Right. If I'm selling you a case study, well, here's the blueprint.
Cases more that we researched during the last 11 years, traveling the world. So we can show you, we can slap you with 50 cases.
Well, so there is some interest.
China, it's very boring, I think. Very boring.
The case studies are, at one point you think, if you say, it's possible. Now, how might this be possible here? Not because there is different. So how can I make the case study for us? How can we be a case study for ourselves? But even that is just kind of like jerking yourself off.
Exactly. The right stance, I think, is to say, let's first fix the problem ourselves. Let's first transform, and then in a year or so we can take pride in having accomplished that. Not now. If you want to be a company trying to be a case study is as bad as a company trying to make profit for profit's sake. It doesn't make any sense.
Oh, oof, boy, that's a super alpha concept. So Astrid has a question.
Oh, that's wonderful. Does she is that her profile picture? It's very.
It's Astrid. I don't know if it's Astrid and Sabina being there.
Okay. So besides the trust on being able to do it properly, clarifying what you are going to do, not giving all the answers, but being on equal footing to advise. What else? It's a long list already, right? To make beta easy to buy. Great question. So trust on being able to do it properly, clarifying. if cases are not inspiring, why did so many big orgs get inspired into replicating the non-existent Spotify model? That's great. Astrid, you should show up, or you both.
We did not pay Astrid to do this, so
you can show up more often. Do you want to try to give an answer? Our answers will probably be different. Ryan, if you have one, I have one.
The Spotify model question.
The Spotify model question first.
Spotify model. I think it's an easy story to tell. It's an easy story to explain.
Yes.
And Spotify's a big thing.
Yeah.
And the thing is that story, when you go back to Henrik, I think is the guy who was involved, Henrik Knudsen or something.
Yeah.
You go back and say, we never really did it like the way that's out there.
But that's the beauty that's the power of the whole Spotify model fad. It was that it wasn't anything. It was completely flexible. It was everybody could use it. Grab it.
I can say we have guilds and tribes and all this kind of stuff, but when you really don't change the structure at all, you just put different labels on the structure.
I think the Spotify model also sold it's off already, right? Can you show the question or the comment again, please, about that?
Oh, yeah.
Why did so many big orgs get inspired to replicate the non-existent Spotify model? I think one of the answer, yes.
Well, another thing is that, if they already have a relationship with Accenture, Deloitte, whomever, and they pick up that as part of their playbook to say, hey, Spotify did this as well, and we can help you be just like Spotify.
And exactly. And the playbook for doing it was already there. The big consulting firms just took the playbook for matrix organizing, which they had run for 20, 30 years, I think. Yeah. They just changed the names to Spotify model names. Swags, blips, blobs, guilds.
Guilds, tribes, and...
tribes, flops, and blips. And same approach, new wording. So it had to be a hit.
Henrik Kneiberg, Astrid is correcting me here, so thank you, Astrid.
And of course, it's not foul play. It's all But can we go back to the other question? I think that was even
sure.
So how to make it easy to buy? Create a proper relationship with the client or the sponsor. Clarify. Don't rush into the transformation project as well, but first have a few conversations, workshop sessions. We sometimes have this discussion, Ryan, I think, right, about how much of it can you do virtually?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. My belief is more on the side that you shouldn't try to do too many things virtually. You must meet. But the jury is still out there. What works and where the limits of it are, and how much you can virtualize this. But meeting face-to-face is an important part of getting to the client to buy, sit at a table together,
break bread together, and
bread together, have a glass of wine, that kind of stuff.
Have an experience, that's not mediated by
so before writing the proposal, meet and talk and discuss. And for example, the last time I did a workshop like that, okay, if I jump into an example, that was in Austria, a very nice location, lake view, and so beautiful lake in Austria. And we had a conversation, let's say directors and I, and they got really confused by all these provocations that come with beta, the deconstruction. We did a session of 4 hours, 6 hours, I think, 4 or 5 hours. So and it was enough, I think. There was so much cognitive dissonance, and because I said, no, this is also not beta. This doesn't work. Let's think through it, and we talked about all these concepts, and just with the flip chart and the 5 of us sitting at the table. So having this kind of conversation is a necessary precondition to later help the client buy the BetaCodex transformation.
Yeah.
You need to discuss things as well. Does the client really want the transformation?
Well, hopefully that. So here's the thing. Maybe that conversation that you have, you in some way you were connected with the buyer hears from their friend, they hears from their friend that this Niels guy, or this Ryan guy, hopefully, can help something amazing happen, right?
Mhm.
And that is not like nothing you've seen before, whatever it is, the story that they get told to come to you, and then we have a few conversations, and then because of the alpha organization, they have to put out an RFP. They have to put out a request for proposal. But if you have already had that conversation and they're aware that what they want is what you have on offer,
Yes.
then that RFP will come out with all this kind of language and spirit that you've already put in there. What I find, and as I go out and look at the grants that are out there, so what are the requests for proposals that are out there, the funding information from whatever governmental body, they know what they want, and they just want someone to come in and obey their structures. Make sure you have your SMART goals here. Make sure you can predict the exact budget you have over the whole project, and we're going to measure this all very strictly, and we're going to do all this, and that's on the RFP. So to respond to an RFP like that from a beta perspective, like
it's impossible.
So it is impossible. It's like the only proposal you can have is that my response to your proposal is it will fail if you do it like this. This is my response.
Yes. Ultimately, you cannot sell beta transformation through an RFP.
Yeah. I think what I was thinking through as we're talking, also Astrid has another question here too. Was that what you could propose seriously is to say, well, if you could propose that we have a series of conversations to develop what really wants to happen in your organization. You say these kinds of things, and these things are certainly possible, but our belief is, and the way we would respond as Red 42, for example, is that the pathway to get there is uncertain. It requires a lot more of you than just predicting. So there's some language in that. I think that's part of another piece of this that I wanted to explore, was that the language that we use in crafting a proposal, there's distinctions in that, and there's some very specific ways that I would think that we need to talk about that and have some definition around. So language is something I'll come back to. Let's see what Astrid said. This one I think both of us will have a little riff on.
Okay.
This is the folks who this is a follow-on to the Spotify question.
These are I'm not sure what it refers to when she says these orgs.
The big orgs.
The big orgs that get inspired to do what happened, or are these orgs not suited?
Yeah, what happened to the big orgs that were inspired to the Spotify model? Or maybe she's asking a different question, but I think the organization not suited for beta. Well, we've talked about this a little bit before. You say very often, or beta is for everyone.
Yes, right? And everybody wants beta. That's also
which is, and I don't necessarily agree with that framing. You can only want something when you know what it is, right? Or you have a general longing. I have a longing for something, but I'm not sure what will satisfy this need. That's one thing. I think what came up first when thinking about, well, not everyone needs it, but it's for everyone. It is for everyone who is ready to take that leap. That's what I would think. But now here, maybe you say everyone is ready. No, shut up, Ryan. Everyone's ready. They just don't know it. Or
exactly. Humanity, all humans are ready for love. Humans are ready for sex. Humans are ready for social contact. Humans are certain things.
It's what is your belief about human nature? I mean, that's what it
yes, and about what's natural to human beings. That's why for example, I would argue that compassion is intuitive. Hatred is not really. Hatred, I think, is learned. Right?
Hatred
There's
and
things that are learned, that are conditioned.
stories that you told that you believe a story to be true. And this is the Mark Twain thing. It's not the stories you know are false. It's the stories that are false you believe are true.
I think it's helpful to assume that beta is the natural state of how people want to be working, and not alpha. Alpha is crooked in a way. It's not the natural choice. It is the standard today, or the dominant model, but it is not intuitive. One day people will laugh at our centuries and say, themselves, why did they do it for 100 years?
Why?
And Mary Parker Follett said it all. So why did they do the stinky alpha shit for another 100 years?
There's another comment in here. I'd love to go into too. Astrid, you're making this so fun for us.
Yes, thank you.
Where is it? Are there she asked a question. I don't know if LinkedIn said warned her that we were going to jump all over this. Are there playbooks we could tap into? Are there you couldn't really call? Could you call Open Space Beta a playbook?
I think it's as playbookish as complex stuff gets, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
playbook Open Space Beta. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's invitation open space.
But it's a question what Astrid.
Yeah, Astrid put it on there, but it didn't get there for some reason.
What's the playbook for transformation? I think that's as close. But again, I always say that you do not get to start with Open Space Beta. In a client relationship, you have to get there. And what gets you there is a workshop or 2 workshops, a working session, and then a conversation with the sponsor, because the sponsor will also have, now before we start and before I write that check, and before even you send me the proposal, let's talk again about my hesitations that I have. All clients have, all sponsors have hesitations. Otherwise, they would be fools, and we don't want to work with fools, right? So no, I never liked the idea that the client must be ready. No, we make the client ready through our help, through our advice, through our, and through the reading that they will do, for example, or the videos they will watch. And something that I love working with clients is the moment when for example, when I get there for the first time, to talk with more people maybe, or different people, sometimes people come up and say, Niels, we feel that we already know you, or I feel that I already know you because I've watched so many videos or listened to so many podcasts or whatever. Because people, we don't have to prepare them and train them so much. There's so many materials they can prepare themselves, they can figure things out for themselves. And that's much better than us explaining beta stuff.
Yeah. Well, if they do the reading, they come with the questions that are interesting, and because if you think about something, it's like, so how does
they would say in podcast episode number 60, I heard this and that, but I can figure out that's the interesting conversation that you as a consultant want to have with the client system, or that you want to help them figure out, where you can support them figuring something specific out,
So I think they come to you with curiosity, right? If they're coming to you with curiosity, help me understand what you mean by a cell structure design. What when you say social density, when you say projects just have an address, what the hell are you talking about? So help me understand that. Tell me more. I'm curious. That's that.
And that was very different 12 or 15 years ago, when we didn't have the podcast, when we didn't have so many books out in English. We had no real book out until 12, 15 years ago. So now we have the books. Now we have so many articles, so many podcasts.
When there was only 10 white papers, right, or something. Now
now we have 25.
25.
So there's so much material that we can make available to the client so that they can figure things out, or discuss things by themselves, and we don't have to do the training. So it's easier now to slip in the role of a consultant for good, and leave the training things behind, because and don't get me wrong, I started with the training stuff as well. I thought that if I have my great PowerPoint deck with 100 or 200 great slides, then everything is good. No, it's not. We need the mechanics of open space beta. We need open space dev, for example.
Yeah. Well, we need
to all. I think it's safe to say that without open space dev, I likely wouldn't do any transformation either. At least if the client has 50 or more people, we should do an open space dev. So these social technologies, or maybe Astrid.
There's no question from Astrid here.
What's the playbook? The playbook is workshop, do an open space as part of the transformation as well. Usually you will need the open space beta approach as well. But certainly you will need workshop sessions. You will need the sponsor as well. You will need some time boxing of the process, and open space dev.
Yeah. I mean, there are books, so I guess you could call the books a playbook. You could draw, this lovely. I would like a few copies of this, but you draw something like this, that's about as playbook-y as it gets, right?
Yes, we have the open space beta timeline for that.
We do, and I have the lovely poster. And I used to have it up here
because what you just showed is the open space agility timeline. I think it's very. No, it's good. It's good. It's good, but when we developed in 2018, when we developed open space beta, we thought, okay, this is hard to understand, and so I tried to figure it out for myself, how to make it easier to grasp what the elements are, and we came up with the open space beta timeline. Anybody can look this up on the internet and see.
It's like a pattern. Well, also, I think I want to say that it's a playbook because that pattern. The Prime OS pattern can be used for any number of principles, and that you bring in that there's again, but you add the flavor to it that makes sense for open space dev. Makes sense in an organization specifically because there's time constraints that you don't have in certain environments and things like that. So I want to get a couple comments back up here. So there is this maybe not a proposal question, but
Astrid, how does formal school education contribute to alpha being dominant? Let's turn this around.
Teacher, I have an answer. No, okay.
Yeah. You give an answer, non-answer, and I then give another non-answer.
Well, so if you ask, what is alpha? If alpha is the single structure, authority, hierarchy, measuring kind of domain, right? Well, how could it not contribute? If I am learning to be dependent on someone else's measurement of me to gauge my performance and my satisfaction with whatever it is, how would that not translate into how I engage in the work world? Right. So if I've learned how to do this as soon as I get a grade in a course where I'm sitting in rows, looking up at the teacher and saying, you're right, you're wrong, you're right, you're wrong. Oh, and if you do this, you will get more cookies at the end of it, And so how could it not? And so that I guess, I don't know if that's an answer. I would rather it not be an answer, but I think the more interesting question is at what point, at what time of intervention would be maybe not the best place? What would be an opportune time to intervene in this I'm going to say development stage, and I know you'll crap all over that, but as a child matures through the school system, as they get more information about how to behave and the protocols of living, at what point do you say, all right, instead of sitting in rows together, we're going to sit in a circle, and we are not going to learn from me only. We are going to learn this together with each other, for each other, and we are going to have a different way of being together, right? So again, I don't know, the when question is, I don't know, it kind of comes down to, well, put your kids in Montessori school, and then
this is something that I was reminded of as well by Astrid's question. And of course, one of the greatest beta BetaCodex company cases there once existed. It doesn't exist anymore. Now it's an alpha organization, was Google. So until maybe 10 years ago, Google was an excellent beta case. Now it's not anymore. And of course, when I researched the case back then, 15, 20 years ago, at some point I learned that the founders, Larry and Sergey, they had been at a Montessori school. And I thought that made complete sense, you know. So they founded Google, they brought those principles of Montessori education to the company, and it led to a beta organizational model, you know. Still now it's an alpha company, but command and control company, but
well, it was when did Google become alpha? I think that's an interesting question. Yeah, because
that's well known.
Well,
the tipping point
maybe not interesting, but maybe it's not. I don't think it's well known, but it's anyway. So it's about the time. What you were going to say? I was going to offer something.
Time when the principle was abandoned. That don't be evil. The don't be evil principle. When that was abandoned, that certainly was a tipping point.
Yeah, when they adopted the be more evil principle, that was the one that.
At least not being evil wasn't the principle anymore, which tells you something. So around that time, it must have been, and that's not a big secret. So we know that in the years leading up to that, something must have happened. However, that's not the problem nor the solution. I think the most important thing is that if we do not believe then that people can grow beyond their school education, then all is lost. We even know that the founders, I'm not sure where Astrid is from, maybe from Denmark or Sweden or something, judging from the name. But in America, for example, the founding fathers, among the founding fathers were slaveholders. Still, they kind of invented democracy or co-invented, you know, together with others, you know, leading thinkers from France and Germany, for example. They kind of invented democracy. So if we do not believe that in their adult lives, their professional lives, people can grow beyond command and control principles that they might have experienced in during their education, their school career, then all would be lost. For example, I went to a traditional school in a way, but I think I learned democracy, some citizenry there, and it's also about us, what we take from it, what we do after.
So yeah, what is the learning? How do you engage with the learning, and what you do with it? I think my background, because I was introduced to jazz improvisation at a very young age, right? And the kids in my school. This is another story we told each other. But so the thing, the cool kids. So the status was conferred by being in the band, and that when you are in band together, you know, of course, there's there's something to be said about the authoritarian band instructor, who is a beautiful person, and I love her very much. Yes. But we learned how to listen. We learned how to be we learned what standards of good performance were. We learned what good music sounded like. And it wasn't like we need to kill the other person and we need to win. We need to win.
Yes.
In that gamification.
I would say that among beta thinkers / practitioners, the share of people who are deeply into music or even who are musicians is stunning.
Ernesto
is a guitarist, exactly, and a very good one, I think. I watch his video. Or let's take Ron Purser.
Oh yeah,
who we talked with last year, I think, or so. He's also a very good guitarist.
Yeah. He's
blues, which makes us look down a little bit. But he's a semi-professional guitarist and so on. And it's surprising how many people who are deep into beta play. Astrid, thanks for hinting that you're from the Netherlands. Sorry for placing you in Scandinavia. Not too bad though. So yes, musicality or a deep interest in music and often music playing. It's strong.
Yeah.
And so education is not the only route. School education is not the only route to beta thinking. Can we put it like that? I think that would be nice. answer to.
Yeah, well, and I think this is also there's a whole other thing about how musicianship plays in,
and of course, being politically active can and should and be also a natural path to beta thinking, right?
Well, and this idea also of flipping the what citizenship means, right? It's not enough
And
to
another
vote.
one of our sponsors, our clients, she was an athletic swimmer during her youth. So you can also get to this kind of thinking through other, or to, I would say, one of my sons is a wonderful beta thinker, and one of the first inclinations he had was chess, very good chess playing, by the way, and now physics. So I think there are many paths to logic helps, musicality helps.
Well, there's a universality of achieving mastery, right? So that's a known thing. So if I have a desire, a hunger for knowledge,
logic, a certain critical thinking helps get you there. And not everybody who goes through a traditional schooling system or school system gets unacquainted with critical thinking. I think that's literature helps as well. Reading helps, right? So there's so many
reading helps a lot. So the other thing I have to say, so when we were talking about the playbook bit, and Sabina joined in, and she, I won't want to go on this. When I put up the open space agility, it didn't look like a playbook; it looked like a lead sheet. So what that tells me, and I think that's one of the perfect examples, when you say, well, when somebody puts out an RFP, as we're talking about proposals, they're saying, this is our sheet of music. You shall play these notes at this time in this way, and we shall conduct your musical ensemble as a consulting group. And we are not in the mood for improvisation. You can do some interpretation if you like, but we are the we are the conductor. We shall control the interpretation, because we're issuing the RFP. You're going to play our game, and that's it. Now, if you're saying, I want to have a jazz club, and I want to create a jazz performance. Well, you're inviting improvisation. You're inviting uncertainty. I have no idea. This tune, it could be a train wreck, right? It can be a complete awful train wreck if people aren't prepared, if people aren't practicing, if people aren't rehearsing, if people aren't communicating with one another, then absolutely it could be a train wreck, but there's all the different pieces of life that create a performance. I mean, this, I will speak a little bit to the book I'm hoping to be able to produce very soon, the words of Mr. Akoff. He talks about the difference between cause and effect, right? Conductor is cause, orchestra is effect, we client are cause, you are effect. That's kind of a way of, I'm oversimplifying it, of course, but the distinction is this whole producer product thing, right? That there are many producers of this outcome, right? So that I'm a producer as a bass player, you're a producer as a bass player, we're gonna play a bass duet, and that the audience is the producer of that. So the environment also produces, we have an interaction with the environment. This is joint action. This is Mary Parker Follett, all these things. So that each of us as producers are necessary for the beauty of the art that happens, but none of us as a single is sufficient, right? So that idea, these are just topics that are in the kind of seeds that get planted in the soil of an organization that could grow into something that is beta. But how do you put that in a proposal, right? You kind of don't. So
I think we kind of do in our proposals. For example, when we make a consulting proposal, and in principle, this is open source, so people could ask me to have it. I wouldn't send it around, like junk. But if somebody told me, I have this client relationship, I've done a workshop, now I'm getting close to writing a proposal, how do I do it? Of course I will. I will share the basics, the basic structure and so on. And we always put the concept overview of open space beta inside it, and usually even the concept overviews for substructure design and relative targets too, so that the client gets knows what will happen.
This is what we're talking about. Yeah.
The content, yeah, because we talked about this a couple of times in this podcast. How does beta work? That is expressed in cell structure design and relative target approaches, and they are the how in terms of organization, the organizational model, and the how in terms of transformation process. That's open space beta. That's usually what we use, right? Not always, but usually. We wrote about that in a white paper as well. But if we use open space beta, we will put the concept overview there. We will also use the concept overview for relative targets and cell structure design to clarify this is what we will do. Actually, these principles will be applied. So don't worry. Don't trust the process. Trust the theory.
The principles. I mean, and I think when we talked about the beta universe, which when you shared the diagram of the universe, there was another clarity for me that happened around. Well, you have three approaches. The generalized approaches, you have an organization design approach, you have an organization performance approach, and you have a transformation approach.
Yes.
And you have the baseline set of
the holy trinity of beta transformation. Yes.
Holy trinity, and the principles that support each of those. Yes. Well, the strata underneath of the 12 principles, and then each of the delivery approaches have their own set of principles. So, but again, it's the beta onion. Maybe that's another thing. We got to peel back the beta onion a little bit. So we're here 56 minutes in. How much have we talked about proposals? I think we've talked a good bit about them. What do we have left to say about that? For episode 4.
Don't propose to the client too soon. Dare to have conversations, right? I think that's the major thing. I think one of the so many consultants to beta transformation have emerged is that it's a hypothesis, right? Why haven't more people picked up? Because they're like lovely people I always think about that I met. For example, there's this guy, very nice guy, very smart. Or take with Drew. So there's so many in our cosmos. Let's say there's so many smart people, wonderful people, who could obviously pull off this kind of transformation with clients. Of course, I sometimes wonder, okay, why don't they do it? At least to my knowledge, why don't they attempt? And I think there are several good reasons, or maybe Astrid might be asked are the risks and so on. Yes.
Well, there's knowledge is not enough.
Exactly, and teaching is not enough, and educating the client is not enough. You have to want to be a consultant.
Yeah,
I think it has to be the challenge is: do I want to be a consultant? Do I want to? And I do not mean bullshitting McKinsey. That's not a consultant.
Do I want to be a?
No, that's never what I would. But do I want to be an extended workbench for a company? That wants.
Yeah. Do I want to be a pair of hands, or do I want to be someone in?
Exactly. Do I want to be a brain or a pair of hands? Consulting to me is a person with hands and brain, preferably. So, but do I want to train? Do I want to be smart and be admired or loved? Those are not good preconditions for being a consultant. So, as a consultant, I think one of the challenges, and I've learned this the hard way, is that you will not always be liked in every situation. That you will have a certain degree of conflict with the client system at some point. Not conflict. There will be tension.
Well, creative tension. That's a good one.
Yeah, sure. And you have to say the client no a couple of times. Very important in beta transformation. It's really important. It's not so much the good advice you give, which is important, but also that you can shit that you might, So don't do it, and I will explain to you. But it's very important that you don't do it. That's very, very much the essence of. I know a person here in Berlin who is he works for a publisher, and my duty is not to make good books happen, but to make sure that certain books are not published.
Really?
Yeah, he works for a publisher, and he says my key role is to make sure that certain books are not published, at least not by my publisher. It's the same with peer recruiting, by the way. Peer recruiting, good recruiting, is not to make sure that the right people are recruited. It's all. The real thing is to make sure that the wrong people are not recruited.
Yeah, you don't.
Both is true.
Would you say, as a publisher yourself, would you ascribe to that?
Sure. Of course. It's very hard to find projects. I would love to publish books with of other people, more as a publisher with BetaCodex Press, but also, I try to make sure that some see projects, and I tell people straight away, why I think this is not a good book. This shouldn't be published. Make it. You can change this and that, or this could be a good book if you did this and that.
Good book.
Very important. By the way, that we stand in the way of crap. I mean, that's what beta consulting, by the way, is to do and what to know. What alpha stuff to avoid, because that will restrict the client's options a lot. I think open space is like that as well. Open space is not some smart way to run large conference. It's about not doing certain things that are common in large group events and conferences. So cut away the alpha bullshit, etc., the command and control, and beta is the natural thing. That's what we always say in this podcast, right?
Yeah. I think at one point, I wanted to say this too, is that every startup is born in beta.
Exactly. Naive beta is the natural thing for an organization to be built upon.
Unless you have an authoritarian bastard. But then again, when you only have two, this is a topic. I think it's a topic down the road. Is that how does if you're a naive beta, if you're a startup, there is a point in time where somebody has the bright idea to say, oh, we need to bring in the adults, right? As soon as you bring in the adults, you have the board and the funding and the angel. I mean, all that kind of stuff that happens, and that those patterns of extraction begin. But that's I think it's a different story. It's not a proposal story. We have. Let me see some other. There's a question here. Anything more? Astrid, see you later. I actually invited Astrid a few minutes ago to see if she would come online with us. But
we can do that for another episode as well.
Yes. So let's see. There was. Let's see. What is the reason that fast beats beta? It doesn't. It's different. It's not the same thing.
I don't get it. Can you explain this to me?
This is we're talking about Quint Quartel. That's his bit.
His concept is called fast agile. Yes. Yeah. I remember it. Yes. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not about a beating thing. It's a different thing. And again, it's been a long time since I talked to him. So
by the way, I should look at fast agile again, because of course, with the idea of bringing time orientation into software development, that might be a concept to look at again. I looked at it a couple of years ago, I remember, and I wasn't very inspired. But maybe my mind changed as well.
But this is this. I think you're speaking.
But it's not either or. I think beta combines. It's important to say that beta combines with a great deal of great approaches, in principle with Scrum, if it's not too dumb. It combined with Lean, if it's not too dumb and too focused. So any great software development approach, and fast agile might be one of them, should sit well with Beta.
But that's the thing; they're different in kind. It is agile is not an organizational design or performance approach, or a transformation approach.
Yes.
I would say the same for that. Lean is not an organizational design approach or necessarily a performance system. No, not really.
Yes.
And so it's different in kind. And I think nor is the BetaCodex a complexity sense making framework. One of those,
which would be
which would be ridiculous.
Yes.
So, but either way, but to get in that conversation, you're getting in the wrong conversation. We're talking about this turtle is a better tomato than that. Well, what do you? It doesn't make sense.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Either way,
but certainly a good. Yeah. Let's take Lean as an. I mean, just as an example to illustrate this question. In Lean, there are excellent approaches. I recently wrote a paper about that. They're called quick response manufacturing, Lean RFS, and the Weichselbaum system. They fit very well with Beta, and they can be combined to great benefit of both, so to speak. Quick response manufacturing, for example, can be an enabler of Beta transformation, but Beta social technologies like self-structure design and relative targets and open space Beta can be great accelerators to make quick response manufacturing happen. So Beta is not at all a competing framework with other frameworks. Not at all. They're just some things that make sense with Beta and others do not make sense with Beta.
Yeah. And I think this also goes sometimes, and what I have seen in several of the grant proposals I've written, and with the grant processes that happen, is that they're asking for partnerships. They're asking, so who are you partnered with when in your offering, right? And so, what you're saying makes perfect sense, because the BetaCodex can support any number of things, as well as, so you want to have agile software development. Well, in order to have that actually work, and then what needs to happen is this sense of shared ownership, shared accountability, responsibility, and organizational structure that creates a set of affordances for that to happen. And that could be, hey, you want to do this? Well, hey, you Agile dude, well, we can accelerate that Agile. We can partner. We're not adverse to partnership. It's the whole point of doing this stuff with each other, for each other, and in saying a proposal can be designed in partnership in many different ways. So I think that's also, there's a sense of openness in relationship and improvisation that all sorts of possibilities around that. Wow. It is, God, I can't, do you remember the Carol Burnett show? Would that ever come into your consciousness? Carol Burnett? Yes, maybe. No.
Carol?
Okay. Carol Burnett had a variety show in the 1970s. We're landing, by the way, for those of you out there, we're kind of having a soft landing here. She always sang the song, "I'm so glad we had this time together." She always sang that song, and I need to learn that tune so we can actually sing that. Maybe put it in musically at the end of our stream, and then maybe YouTube will. If we use only 10 seconds of a tune, I think we can actually do it.
Yeah, I think we can get away with it.
I got to figure that, but I will do that. Is there anything that you wanted to say that you did not get the chance to say today?
No, one thing that came to my mind a couple of minutes ago, and I didn't say it out loud. If you want to get going with Beta transformation, with Beta consulting, get in touch. Don't try to figure it out all by yourself. Get in touch, get some kind of advice, maybe even supervision if you like. You don't have to invent the wheel or reinvent the wheel. There's so much experience, and of course we wrote a couple of research papers those with patterns in the title, I think number 20 to 23 or so.
Yeah.
We wrote a couple of research papers about our, the patterns we observed, and that should be helpful as well for those who want to engage with clients in beta transformation.
Yeah.
Or even workshops about beta transformation and so on.
Yeah.
And but there's no reason why you should not get in touch. I can give an example. There's a colleague here in Germany. He attempted beta transformation with a client. It didn't go so well. Didn't go as well as it could have gone, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
And now we are in touch. We're discussing these things, and it's great, to clarify, what went wrong, what did we do. Oh, also, I'm happy to talk about the mishaps that we did and that we experienced, prior to Open Space Beta and even after that.
Yeah.
So, let's talk. Don't try to be a single.
Don't be a savior. Don't try to be a savior or a guru.
Yeah, don't try to be a hero. Why not get in touch? Ultimately, this movement is
another hero. We don't need another. Tina Turner.
Yes, of course.
Okay, there we go. There was a bunch of stuff I was thinking that might have come up today about proposal writing, but but it hasn't.
We talked refreshingly little about proposing writing in this session. Okay. Yeah.
Well, but I think we did what we did talk was actually the making beta easy to buy.
Yes.
Well, how do you make it easy to buy? It's not about making it easy to buy is not about writing a proposal to somebody. It is not responding to someone else's alpha bullshit.
Exactly.
It is becoming into relationship with someone so that they understand and are curious and they want to be in relationship with you. And to have trust in that. If you have that trust, that they will want to travel with you, you will want to travel with them, and make beautiful art with their organization. So singing a song of beta, right? And now, of course, we have the most number of viewers at the end of our show than we did the whole time. Yeah. Let's see.
Well, there's a whole recording coming up.
Yeah, there's a whole recording. We'll put that out there. So where can people find you, Niels? Other than this lovely podcast that we have every 2 weeks?
Get in touch through LinkedIn, and I also can I remind people to sign up to our Substacks, the BetaCodex.
Yes.
Substack, I think, is the best social media, non-social media platform that exists today. It's a content platform, really. It's like made for journalism. Thank you for placing the links. So the BetaCodex has a Substack, and humble Red 42. I have my own Substack as well, so I'm publishing on both platforms. The content is different. It's not like mirroring each other. There are different pieces of content appearing on both these Substacks. So subscribe to that, read the stuff, get in touch. Oh yes, there's also Ryan's YouTube channel.
Yeah, we are riffing now. So.
And there is a BetaCodex network YouTube channel as well. You can be part of the BetaCodex LinkedIn group as well, which is very active. And recently we passed the mark of 2,700 members.
Right. So we have the active group badge.
We had it for a while. We don't have it anymore. But okay.
So
it's bullshit. And the most important thing is that we do not tolerate garbage there. So you will find a really tightly curated group with good content and
good stuff.
Yeah. So get in touch. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, and if those of you out there who are seeing this whenever and however you are seeing it, good now to you. We are open to suggestions. You may give them to either of us on LinkedIn, reply to our Substacks, even Facebook. I stream this on Facebook even, so and folks watch on Facebook.
That's for
Great. But we're open to new topics and new thinking. And if you want, and if you got a take, you've got a take, and you want to share it, and it doesn't suck.
You want to be guest discussing with us? Also, that's possible.
Absolutely, Astrid, I've invited you, so you get to.
Yes, she likes
it. And so we're always open. Open space. So, all right, my friend. We will end the stream and we will land safely and privately in the background. So those of you out there in the Betaverse, I'm sad for you that you are now going to have to grieve the loss of our not being in your faces anymore. So
See you
see you, world. See ya. And